Blessings, dear family. I'm just getting set up here. I'm going to get things ready to go on Facebook and over at Instagram. How are you, beautiful community? I'm so grateful for you. And I'm aware that I have to speak up a little bit more than usual today. We're going to officially get started here in a moment at 11 a.m. Okay. I'm so grateful for you to join. Turn the volume up, all the way. Okay. Blessings. Just 11 a.m. Blessings, everyone. Oh, blessings and welcome to 4D Trinity. It is always just such a gift to be with you, to spend time with you, to share with you, and to contemplate the many, many cycles of spiritual growth that we all go through. And that's what this platform is all about. That's what this show is all about, is understanding that walk, that sacred walk into the heart of the one self, and ultimately into the heart we all share. And that is fourth dimensional consciousness. That is 4D, as I like to speak about it. And really, as I'm guided to bring those messages through, that is fourth dimensional consciousness, is the activation and awareness of the one heart. The alchemy that is given the right of way and that takes place in that space. And the powerful way that we can learn how our energy is distributed through this body, through this vehicle, through the matrix, and then back to us as certain realities. And that's what we're going to be speaking on today, is understanding the power of the feedback loop that you initiate, that I initiate, by way of where, see, I'm trying to say what and where at the same time, so it came out where. We've just invented a new word, of where our focus is, of where our attention is. And not only that, but how and where we place our attention on repeat. And it's really the repeat, that musculature of repetition, that creates the conditions for one reality over another to be generated as our experience here in this third dimension. The way my teacher spoke, my teacher in this book that I wrote, The Reiki Apprentice, the way that she spoke about the dimensions is one that I lean into and one that I share, and that really serves this rendition of what a lot of these metaphysical teachings are rooted on. And on a very basic level, the first dimension is the world, is the planet. No, okay, it's the planet. We'll say it's the planet. I'll take it back about it being the world, because there's a very specific defining between the third dimension and the fourth dimension. And the third dimension, as I teach it, is the world. It is the world that we see, the world of duality, the world of polarity. And the fourth dimension is heaven on earth, is that heaven on earth realization where you become activated through that heart center and channel and bridge heaven wherever you reside. And so there's a sense of the world being that third dimensional matrix construct, the simulation that is constantly presenting us with all the duality, all the ways we are separate, all the ways we are divided, and all the polarized aspects of our sometimes discordant belief systems and how they create interference patterns and generate then the polarity that we experience as this third dimensional world. So there is a difference between the world and the earth. So she would teach first dimension is the planet. The second dimension are all the things that humans have created and placed here on this planet, including buildings, including cars, structures, physical, tangible, touchable mechanisms and mediums. The third dimension, she would teach that is us. That is this physical body, this body vehicle that transports the spirit through this realm. And those were the ways that she would lay out those dimensions. And it really helped me in the beginning when I was learning a deepening understanding of metaphysics, to have those categories, to have that sense of foundation in a way to order and organize my own awareness of what I was downloading and receiving. And this is this sense of where we're all going, is towards the heart. The systems that we know, that we've been brought up with, that we've become accustomed to, many of them are crumbling. Many outmoded, old ways of seeing, of thinking, of believing are being challenged on all sides, if you believe in sides. And there's the invitation in the awakening of this Aquarian age that we are in, of this journey, this sabbatical up into the heart center, this sabbatical that we can only do for ourselves. We can only do this sabbatical for ourselves. Blessings and welcome. Really nice to have you here. And it's this journey into the heart center, this sacred, sacred journey into the heart, into that fourth dimensional level of consciousness, and understanding how we participate in generating that reality, that feedback loop that informs the matrix to create the holographic simulation that is this third dimension, that is this plane where we interact as bodies, this plane where we have emotions, this plane where there is duality constantly at play. The order of walking the path, deepening into that heart center, is the awareness of non-duality, is the awareness of oneness, of unity, and the grace and the alchemy that awareness, that awakening of the heart center offers us individually and collectively, is the medicine that gifts the collective awakening. So as we journey from the third chakra, from the first, the second, the third chakra, over the trust bridge, the energy bridge from the third chakra into that sacred space of the mystic heart, we gather courage. We take what we've learned, we move with these bodies together, and we move into what is a collective resurrection, a reformation, a realization of that unity. And when you really get hit, and I mean that energetically, like ba-boom, like the Tower card in the tarot, when you really get hit with that realization of love, of that awakening, when you've forgiven so much, that you forget how to be triggered biochemically to rerun that feedback loop through the matrix of your pain, of your past, of your sorrow, and to still hold the need maybe to have revenge or to be jealous or to feel shame. When those cycles from our cellular memory and through the aura, through every part of our body, when those cycles soften along our courageous path into the heart, we disband those shields that we had once required to protect us along this very, very polarized world when we're moving from first, second into that third chakra and learning how to hold our truth, even learning what our truth is. That's quite a journey. And that truth might change as you continue growing, as you continue healing. And that's the gift. And learning, though, how to hold space for that, and learning the power then of what becomes generated in your personal matrix, in your personal reality. We know right now there's so much going on. There always is on this stage of the world. A lot of division, a lot of conflicting ideas, but are they really conflicting? Or do we just have this sacred, powerful opportunity, as we never have before, with social media and this instant outlet to share our ideas and memes and sometimes laughable, sometimes really serious information? There's this beautiful this crosshatch patterning of all of these variables. And what I see, the beautiful thing is that we are learning to grow a new synapse together collectively, of not taking things personally, of allowing everyone to have their own truth and not taking it personally, and learning how to throat chakra from that heart, from that understanding, and allowing of others to be what they are, to speak their truth. But then that energy activates through that faith line into the throat chakra, where we can not only express our truth with deeper clarity, but also really listen. Instead of being with our filters of how things might be blocked, or they'd have to get through all of our filters in order for us to really hear what someone's going through in their personal matrix and their reality. And it's that cross-pollination, again, that interference pattern of that heart opening so that I can hear you, so that you can hear me, so that we can hear each other, so that we can speak with one another and know that we are going to be heard to the best that our abilities can allow. And in this way, this cross-pollination of our considerations, of our beliefs, of our actions, everything that's going on right now in this third dimension, it is that cross-pollination rooted in the heart center that allows the activation of a new collective matrix that we can all plug into. So we feed the matrix. We feed the grid. Everything is generated rhythms of interconnected dimensional systems. Your heartbeat, the cells, your frequency. You are creating geometries. When you're mad, when you're happy, when you're having an orgasm, when you're eating some really good food, when you have food poisoning, there's energy, vibration, frequency kicking off of your being. You cannot but help to be interconnected with everyone and everything else. Rhythms. It is the patterns then of those geometries that will either connect you with other like geometries or otherwise. And again, sometimes there's that cross-pollination clashes. And so something different is born out of that. But what is different is not what has been the same, which is the conflict and the pain and the violence and the war and this very 3D matrix. I mean, this is what this world does. It is a host. This planet is a host for all of our polarized notions to be worked out with one another. So thank you, Earth, for doing this for us, for holding space for us, for our healing, for our awakening, for our understanding of oneness in your beautiful, spacious place here. As we understand, then, we are generated rhythms of interconnected. We are all interconnected. Talking about the earth, the air. We all breathe air. And I know there's a lot of color, racial grids up. But those of us who have reached the heart space, we know we're all one. We're all fractals of God, of source, of love, of light. We know that no matter what the colors of the skin or the eyes or whatever it is, that we all breathe, we all eat, we all shit, we all got the same stuff going on. Different paradigms, different realities, but the root foundation we all share. We all share that. Generated rhythms, interconnected. We are all interconnected. All of our thoughts, all of our minds, all of our hearts, all of our words, all of our memories interconnect us. Think about all the people on your social media platforms. You're interconnected. Think about your families. Even if you don't like your family and you've moved away or you're adopted, you still come from someone from somewhere. You're interconnected to all the people that are connected to that person and that person and that person. Think about all the groups or the clubs or the kung fu martial art dojos you've ever worked in, or the meditation groups, or whatever it might be. All the workshops you've attended. We're interconnected, not only because we're humans and we eat and we breathe the same air, but because we are all one, right, metaphysically, but because we all know each other, ultimately. There's that 6 degrees of separation idea. Thank you for hopping on and saying hi. I'm so grateful, everyone on YouTube and Facebook and at Instagram. And I know there's a few comments which I'll pop over to in a little bit, but thank you for being here. Generated rhythms of interconnected, dimensional. We are multidimensional. We are a body. We are a mental continuum. We are emotional continuum. And we are spirit. And even if we just stick with those first 4, we are multidimensional beings. So there's this aspect of our personality, of our spiritual being. And then there's the dimensions of time. Who were you in the past? Who were you when you were 13, 20, 26? Older. Who are you now? Who do you think you will be in the future? Past, present, future timelines. Multidimensional. We are that. We are that. Generated rhythms of interconnected dimensional systems. Physical body, the circulatory system, endocrine system, digestive system, circulatory system, reproductive system. I might have repeated myself, but it goes on and on. So there's this physical system of this body that we are. But there's also these systems of our consciousness, the mental continuums, the mental systems that we are either plugged into or not, the emotional systems. Where do you still get to forgive in your life? Who do you hate, or who do you have a grievance with? There's a system between you. Maybe you just don't like the president. That's a grid. That's a system, both mental and emotional. They're everywhere. We are a part of this fascia, this cosmic fascia of this matrix. We are the grids while we're in bodies on this 3rd dimension. We are feeding the matrix with every thought, with every word, with every action. We're saying, I'm placing my order in this cosmic kitchen, and the kitchen prepares your order, and in the best way that it is aligned with your frequency for you to receive in ways that serves the highest good, it will come. And as we come more turned on to this through awakening the heart center, through our spiritual practices, we're like, that cosmic kitchen works pretty quick. And depending on, how clear I am, everyone learned all this stuff with law of attraction too. It's like, oh, let me be really clear in what I want and the reality I wish to create. And we are understanding with the greater clarity that we can speak, think, affirm, generate those frequencies. Time is taken out of the equation, and that which the cosmic kitchen would serve us comes that much quicker. And we always work here without forcing any will. There's no manipulation. And in fact, my second book, How to Manifest with the Law of Vibration, holds an interesting comparability between, law of attraction is working in this matrix. And as long as your matrix, your personal matrix working with that law of attraction is in tune and in sync with the truth in your heart, that's that takeaway time, that's that divine alignment, that happenstance, that miracle, that like, whoa, I'm so in flow. I'm so synced up with all of these systems because my mind, my heart, my emotions, spirit is all in tune, is aligned. And so here it comes, this divine blessing of what I know is the truth in my heart. Yet there is a difference when law of attraction is used without heart. And then there's that disharmonic convergence that can happen, which I wrote all about in my second book. And so just pointing to that a little bit, because as we create these systems, our personal systems, these grids, as we generate grids, generated rhythms of interconnected dimensional systems, we are not alone. Now, I know you can go to the mountain, you can surround yourself in a bubble of light, you can do all sorts of metaphysical acts and actions to generate that sense of solitude. And really, there is a point where you do disappear, where you can alchemically have access to invisibility. But you have to really forget who you think you are. And a lot of that is rooted in fear. A lot of that is rooted in the conditioning of what we've been told that we are. And so understanding that we are constantly, consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, feeding the grid, feeding the matrix with our thoughts and beliefs, which informs this simulation. Now let's understand this idea. I am a student of A Course in Miracles, as you might know, and it has really helped me along my journey of fourth dimensional awakening through the heart center, because it is a mind training. And if you have a knee-jerk reaction to the word God, all the book says, it says a lot of that word God, it says God often, yet the invitation is just to replace that word with love, because that's what it's about. And it's a mind training where we exercise our spiritual musculature and move away from that fear-based thinking that maybe was given to us by our families, by society, by the media. I mean, look at the feedback loop. If you watch the mainstream news, you'd be terrified to go outside. You would think that there's a lot of danger in leaving your home right now if you really believed everything that you saw in the mainstream. And a lot of folks get their news on social media outlets, and I'm not, I do too, but I'm mindful. And I think that's where we're going, is understanding this mindfulness of what you're regenerating through the matrix. Taking everything with a grain of salt and learning a level of detachment so that we can be in the world and not of the world, and create, again, those correct conditions to become that vessel for a higher order to be generated through us, for that heaven on earth, that fourth dimensional consciousness to be generated through us. Because we know as long as we are affixed in upholding what is very right and what is very wrong, and pointing fingers at one another and getting angry at one another or at the politicians, that's the matrix. And it was designed to keep people in the matrix. It's designed to have you be a talking head and just go on and on and on and on and on. That's the feedback loop. And if you think about politics, a lot is getting unraveled, a lot of old things are being reviewed. But that's what this matrix does. And as long as we stay in that TikTok, that's what we'll get. And as we awaken, we're able to understand and look at different memes with different views and just think, oh, that's interesting. Or as one of my friends said recently, that's fascinating. We don't take it personally. We understand that there's a fabric of many minds here that are going through an awakening. This is Stone the giraffe. This is Stone's feed forward loop into the grid. What Stone thinks about, speaks about, puts energy out into the world, feeds the grid, which feeds the matrix, which then generates a feedback loop to Stone, the giraffe, for Stone's reality. The trick with this is understanding that you can change your mind, that you can re-speak and rethink your realities in any moment. And the levity that gives you that, again, is our ability to not be stuck on things having to be one certain way. What A Course in Miracles has helped me come really clear on is knowing my one truth. And I don't need to know anything else. If I know this, everything else falls into order. And the one thing that I know for sure, and after this thing, I know nothing, is what I like to say. But I know that love is the truth. Do you? What's the one thing that you know for absolute certain? Because that one thing is the founding principle upon which your personal matrix will be created. What is the foundation? Is it strong for your personal matrix to withstand the duality of this third dimension? Can it be redefined at any moment? Yes, it can. And that's the gift. We think sometimes we're stuck in this thinking, this way of thinking, this pattern. And the ego, or the tar body, the shadow, would have us stay stuck like that talking head energy that just, it's like the mouse on the wheel. That's the matrix. The matrix is like, ha, I got you. As long as you're distracted by talking about all the duality and the right and the wrong in the world and the polarity, we got you. That's your feedback loop. Your personal matrix of division, of duality, of right and wrong is going to generate, and you're going to see more of it. You're going to say, you see, there it is. There it is. There's more of that. And that's great if that's great for you. But we begin to realize that there's more, that there's sovereignty, that there's freedom. There's a whole other experience of being in this body on this planet that is in the world and not of it, that is not bound by those constructs, not bound by the TikTok of the fighting, of the tug of war, of what's right and what's wrong. My belief versus your belief. When you come into a sense of knowing, that is when we say you are unfuckable with. Because belief is a stepping stone to knowing. And knowing is even a stepping stone to faith. But faith is also a stepping stone. Because when you really have integrated, when it's something that's true to you and that you know serves you, it's a positive, good, healthy, nourishing, fortifying belief system that you're like, no, I'm going to exercise this muscle. I'm going to believe that love is the truth, even though there's hell. Apparently, I'm told that there's hell and there's a lot of shit to fear out there. I'm going to know, and I'm going to believe that love is the truth. And then that belief turns into that knowing. And then that knowing turns into faith, which eventually completely disappears because you've integrated it. You don't even need faith anymore. And that's when you become free of the ties of the matrix, of all of those intimate ties between you and other people and all of your belief systems. And that's when you become free to generate new systems. This little stick figure, Pepe, generating new thoughts, generating new words into the grid, feeding the matrix, coming back as a new reality. And that's what we get to do together. But no one can tell you how to do your part. It's us leaning into our own individual truth, trusting it, nourishing it, and in that way, it becomes generated under grace. Versus this matrixy way of like, we have to save the world. No, that's time. That's time. That's thinking that time is real. That's thinking that time is real. That's past, present, future. That's limited. And where we're going as we activate is out of time. And tomorrow is the Mayan, July 24th, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's tomorrow. Day out of time. So you might want to look that up and just groove on that for a bit. Out of time. You know, I want to stop here a moment and let you know that you might have read the little blurb in this post, but this is going to be my last live stream every Thursday at 11 o'clock. I've been doing this 4D Trinity live stream since 2018, and I'm taking a hiatus. Spirit is saying, take a step back, integrate. There's a lot of teachings that are ready to be bumped up and become grounded and rooted in greater coherence. And it is something that I'm actually very grateful that it is guided. It is my intention to share with you informative insight that is coherent, that really serves your path. And I want to thank you, everyone. There's folks here on YouTube, especially from the very beginning. I didn't have these on Instagram or Facebook. And there's an old school crew that was with me from the very beginning when I used to do 2-hour shows. And so thank you, because this is for me as well as for you. And this is ultimately guided by the grid, by the work I do with the grid. Hello? It's the God phone, everyone. Hey, God, what's up? Okay, God says, read the comments. Okay, we'll read a little bit from A Course in Miracles. Oh, that's beautiful. God is offering, and just for anyone new that might be watching, that idea that God is simply love without an opposite. God is love outside of fear and judgment. It's simple. God is love in motion. God is a verb. It is the experience, the exchange of love. It is love in motion. Thank you for that, dear God. Okay, I will. God is offering a little message to take a breath and be gentle on yourself, to be gentle with your progression, of your healing, of your growth. Mm-hmm. There's no rush as long as you show up when you're truly guided to. Other than that, relax, practice. Okay, yes, word. God is saying practice turning on the parasympathetic nervous system. Move away from fight or flight. And that is how we enter heaven. And it is an interdimensional gateway. It's nothing outside of ourselves. It's already here in the now. The alignment of our mind, mouth, and emotions with that now, with that spirit, with that God source frequency is what makes it so. Thank you for that message. Namaste. God says bye, but really hi. So God was saying to have a little look at the comments. Thank you for being here, everyone. Lulu's here. Mystic Artifacts. Oh, blessings, camera guy. Nice to see you here. Uh-oh. Here we go. Hi. Oh, let's see. Now I can't get out of here. Hi. Hi. Recently heard of 5D, still trying to get my head around 4D. Yes, yes. You know, and this is it. As I said, I've been guided to do these live streams since 2018. Yet I've been publishing articles and papers about fourth dimensional consciousness since around 2010, 2011, 2012. It is that awakening through the heart. If we imagine, I like to think about, so I offered at the very beginning of this show, the paradigm that my teacher, who is in my book, The Reiki Apprentice, offered to us students. There's templates of dimensionality, and we're going to see how they fit together. First dimension being this planet, second dimension being all the buildings, the structures on this planet, the cars, the physical, mechanical aspects, the things that we build, that we put here. The third dimension is this actual body, system. And we think about dimensions of consciousness. Now, this show is 4D because we're speaking about fourth dimensional consciousness being that consciousness that activates at the heart center. So again, if we think about the chakras now and overlay this template, first chakra, first dimensional consciousness, survival, just being okay with being a body here on this planet. Second chakra, creating, manifesting now that we're here on this planet in a body, being okay with it, co-creating, sex, manifesting. Third chakra, owning what we've created, owning what we've manifested, generating a sense of personal power, acknowledging other bodies on this planet. Fourth dimension, awakening into love, which is really what it is. Fifth dimension, the speaking, the thinking, the knowing, the listening, the grounding, and the rooting of all of the awakenings that have come through those chakras into this here and this now, co-creating a reality through your spoken word. And this is very, very powerful because everything is energy, and your words stimulate motion of energy in this universe. Like attracts like, so all of your words and all of your energies that put into those words will match and connect with other like words through the grids. You feed forward into the grids, those words, those beliefs, those thoughts, put it into the grid shuffles it around, matches it with other like frequencies, generates back to you through the matrix as the simulation that you have for experience. Feed forward loop, feedback loop. As we step into love and we heal the things that have hurt us along that pathway of being a body, of surviving in this world, of being a sexual being, of being a creative being, of manifesting, of being in your here I am with other bodies in this world, and the interactions that take place. As we move into the heart, we realize that where we have withheld love, where we've been hurt, that those are the markers that keep us bound in unconsciously, subconsciously feeding forward into the grid. That victim mentality or those limiting thoughts, that self-destructive aspects that perpetuate a certain reality that will just build that construct for us over and over again. And again, that's the matrix. So it's just this loop. And when we move into the heart, though, and we really begin to heal those who have hurt us, we really begin to forgive ourselves and others, we really begin to generate leaning into love, learning how to exercise the muscle of loving the self, which is all there. There's only one of us here. right? And as we learn to love the self, I mean, you will fall in love with yourself, knowing thyself divine, because everything is contained within everything else. And as you really go on that mystic journey of healing your life, or your spiritual sabbatical journey, you begin to awaken corridors that are so beyond the matrix of where our pain will keep us in this third dimensional grid matrix. And then what happens as we awaken into 4D consciousness, fourth dimensional consciousness, is enlightenment, is awakening in the heart. And when the heart awakens, it is a very different reality that we are with. We begin to bridge heaven on earth. As the heart awakens and opens, the third eye awakens and opens. We are no longer seeing with the physical eyes of love and fear, of that juxtaposition, of that duality that we're trained. That's what we do here, though. That's what our physical bodies do. They rely on the senses. And when we move into the heart, we start to lean into faith. We start to lean into our intuition. So feed forward feedback loop. Do you believe everything you're told in the media? Are you just regurgitating and telling all your friends and believing it, everything? And then they're telling their friends and they're telling friends. And that's how the media works to create the matrix. That's how the media works to create and generate the fear. It puts it in you, puts a story, a word, a phrase, a picture in you. And then you, unless you have a very strong mind and a very strong filter, you will unconsciously repost, respeak, and that'll be what you're talking about, and that'll keep you in the matrix. When we move into the heart, we can talk about those things in a detached way. We can say, isn't that interesting? That's happening in the matrix. Yes, I see there's a lot of that going on. Interesting. And you're not so bound by it. You're not so triggered and ready to fight or flight. You're in your parasympathetic, you're chill, you're like, okay, cool. You don't have to judge anything or anyone or take sides. There's no sides, but there's sides in the matrix. And so I'm here to hold your hand as you learn to take that courageous step from this third dimension, whether you're going to 5D, 6D, 7D, 12D, whatever D you want. Dimensions don't really exist. This is just a thing that we create here for these bodies to have a spiritual experience with. When you go really break through the matrix, you realize that dimensions are helpful. They are helpful steps along the ladder of ascension, along the chakras, to understand that there is an experience beyond this world that we can have in this body. So if people are on their way to 5D and they get into these higher frequencies, yet they stumble, they get there, they realize, oh shit, I still haven't forgiven my father for beating me when I was little. And I really want to kill him. I have a lot of anger and rage about that. You have not developed the correct musculature to sustain a fifth dimensional consciousness. And the practice then is doing the work in the heart center, clearing that so that you can go to whatever D you want, 5, 6, 7, wherever you want to go. So I pray that serves you, cameraman. And I pray that serves all of us. Because I know it's a lot, right, to get your head around 5D, 4D, 6D. Love your connection is glitchy. You know what, honey? On Instagram, it's often glitchy. Unless I sit like a statue and don't move at all. If I move a hand, it goes, which makes very interesting Tai Chi when I do the Tai Chi on Instagram. Oh, there's some interesting folks watching. Blessings and welcome on Facebook. And thank you on YouTube. So as I was saying, I'm going to be taking a hiatus. But I want you to know that there's over, 300 or 400 maybe videos at my YouTube. So please subscribe. Go to my website, TuesdayMayThomas.com, and subscribe for my monthly love letter. Stay in the community. I have a weekly book club via Zoom by donation. And it doesn't matter if you hop in. We're halfway through my book, The Reiki Apprentice. But it doesn't matter. If you don't have the book, I offer a PDF version for $5. We're understanding the metaphysics of how this matrix, of how this grid works, how we're interconnected with it. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful group. So there's ways we can stay connected. And I will be doing some videos and stuff on the YouTube and sharing. But 4D Trinity, we're going to take a moment. We're going to take a break. And from the Tai Chi, perhaps too. So I facilitate that generally on a Monday night at my other platform, Grid Mind Science. And I'm so grateful for all of your support. And again, this has been such a wonderful experience for me. And we're not over. We are just getting started. But there's definitely an integration period. So someone from the book club sent me a message and I wanted to speak on it. She said, I'd love to know more about your thoughts on why we are here in the matrix since this is an illusion. Why are we here in this matrix since this is an illusion? Well, thinking about A Course in Miracles, we never read our Course in Miracles. Thinking about A Course in Miracles, the teachings help us to orient and to root a sense of navigating that type of a question. Anything that is not rooted in love, according to A Course in Miracles, is not real. And everything that is rooted in love is what is real. And so having that as a root system to lean into, to help you navigate the illusion that is, it can be really helpful, because there's this sense that everything rooted in fear, everything that is of the binary system, that is polarized, that is unhealed, is going to keep you in the third dimensional aspect of the matrix. Yet what's happening is we are weaving new grids of a fourth dimensional consciousness through this grid matrix by tapping through the heart center, the love that's already here, the love that's always here. The love that's always here. Love is the truth. Love is the founding principle of all creation. The matrix, the grids are just the interference patterns of all of our minds, of all of our emotions through all time, space, and dimensions, generating the various personal matrices and simulations that we would have. And then the overlay of how those matrices fit on top of one another and interplay with each other. And as I was saying a little while ago, it's that sense of that interference pattern that we're all listening now as we've not listened before. We're all awakening and offering and allowing each other to have different thoughts and beliefs, whether it's about wearing a mask or not, whether it's about politics or whatever it is, vaccines. There's a lot of information that is being shared. And what is a beautiful thing, again, is seeing how our interference patterns of very different, perhaps, belief systems around things are overlaying. And so from this overlaying and from our ability to have heart, to be in the throat, to listen, and not just be like, I'm right, you're wrong, block, delete, but to have that conversation and to allow another person's truth into your field, into your matrix, as you're guided, and to let it, just to allow it. That even if you don't agree with that other person, we're all allowed to have our truth. But the gift is that seeing and hearing and listening, and it's that cohesion then of two seeming separate sides of the same aspect, birthing a new grid. But as long as there's strict division and I don't want to even see or hear, and I'm going to make you wrong for either wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or whatever all these things are, then you're playing still in the 3D matrix. You're judging, you're bound. But if there's heart, if there's like, okay, yeah, I'll check out what you have to say without judgment and just allow it, that's where that cross-pollination happens. And it may not happen instantly where there's a new grid woven, but that's what activates that sacred space for that camino, for that path that we're all on, the courageous walk from the third chakra to the fourth chakra and to the fourth dimension of consciousness in the heart, which is the now. And so offering to that question, the illusion is the matrix, is the part that is rooted in fear. She said, why are we here in the matrix since this is an illusion? Well, you see, this is a training ground and a practice field to exercise our musculature of self-love and of being in the heart, and as we learn to rest and reside in the heart and trust the heart, trust the now, where we don't have thoughts about things, we don't have very strict and stringent yes and no's and rights and wrongs and polarized, roots about things, but where we can hold everything very lightly and just allow this whole Leela, this whole Maya, this whole game of the world to do its thing, and just let it be. And know that that's what this world, that's what this matrix does. So let it do the matrix. But as we move into the heart, then we move out of the matrix. We are still in a body, but we are not bound by the body. We are in the world, but we are not bound by the world. So we learn to use the system that we are and match it with the systems of love, and only love, that reside within the dual plane of the matrix. We heal the parts of ourselves that would have us bound to the illusion, so that we can gain levity, a lightness, and be lifted from the heaviness of the bounds, of the gravity of the grids that create through the matrix the simulation that continues the violence, the fear, the war. It is an interdimensional experience. So I pray that serves you, and I love that offering, and I love that question. And there's so much more. Thank you for joining. And Mystic Artifact says, because you have a screenplay to work on. Sister, I really love you. And I know that we're just at the beginning of hanging out and cross-pollinating our own energies. It's true. It's very true. So let's just read briefly. I know we're going to be ending here at noon. But the God phone did call, and I'm just going to read a few sentences from page 65 in the text. The ego body illusion. All things work together for good. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. So again, thinking about understanding how what you put into the matrix, what you feed forward into the matrix, becomes the feedback loop that comes back to you as your experience. So what this is saying is the foundation, all things work together for good. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. The ego exerts maximal vigilance about what it permits into awareness. And this is not the way a balanced mind holds together. So the ego will always have us rooted in pointing out where the polarity is, and pointing out where the violence is, and pointing out how bad that is and how good that is versus that. It's this versus thing. A major source of the ego's off-balanced state is its lack of discrimination between the body and the thoughts of God. As you meditate, as you go deep in yourself, into spirit, knowing thyself divine, you become one with the thoughts of God. As you dwell in the parts of self, even unconsciously by not working on it, when you become activated and awakened to a certain point, the light is on, and you have to face your demons, boo. You gotta just learn that spiritual musculature. You gotta learn how to be a warrior and master up and meet your shadow, face your fears, and be gentle on yourself, but also learn how to be fierce in laying your shadow down. And again, then you can put those shields down. You don't have to walk in those moccasins anymore. You can be barefoot and free of those ties that once bound. The observer effect. Now, I know this might read backwards. Quantum science would tell us that before observation, a wave is just a wave spread out over time and space. When we're not looking at something, it's just being a wave. Yet once we look, the wave becomes a particle. The way we look at something changes what it is. And each of us have a different perception, a different set of roots, of histories, of memories, of how we might see something or someone. And all the filters that has to go through creates the polarity that creates that thing. So if I don't like someone and they've hurt me in the past and I have not forgiven them and laid that down and just let it go and put love there, every time I think of that person, I'm going to see through those lenses. When I see that person, even if they're like a really good person and they've done a lot of work on themselves and they're like, just ready to be seen in their new light, if I don't have the capacity to see them in that new light, then I never will. Or I will once I lay those filters down. Because as long as I see you in that certain way, as long as you see them in that certain way, you're collapsing the wave function to create the particulation through the way that you're seeing, through the energy, the emotional, the mental constructs, the grids that you're bringing along into your kaleidoscope vision. And you're saying, see, that's that person. And when all that stuff is laid down, it's just like you might not even see the person. You'll see the spirit. You'll see the love. You'll see the God. And that's what happens when you go into fourth dimensional consciousness. This is the mystic that's within all of us. You stop seeing when you've laid enough of your polarity, judgment, separation consciousness stuff to rest. And really, it's all the stuff ultimately that we haven't put to rest and healed within ourselves. When that tipping point is shifted and enough of the way of love, then what happens is you stop seeing everything with the dual plane of the physical eyes that see the love versus fear, that see the grid matrix, that see the third dimension. That stops happening. I love this, right? This big red X. That stops happening. And you see with eyes of love, you see with God's eyes, if you will. And so just like A Course in Miracles was sharing in a way, if we are just thinking the thoughts of God, and we're not distracted by all the judgments and rights and wrongs and things that we could say and think and speak about, and pointing out all this stuff in the matrix. If you keep pointing at the matrix is going to just keep pointing back at you. Feedback loop. But as you master your mind, your mental musculature, rooted in the heart, give yourself to God. Give your tongue, give your thoughts, give your words, your actions, your energies to love. Having that intention, practicing that musculature with yourself and with others. What happens is God begins to see through you. And remember earlier, we were speaking about your second set of eyes, your third eye and your heart chakra. You begin to see on the vertical ascent, not just on the horizon of this third dimension. Where you, the ego is a body with 5 senses, your spirit. Sure, knows how to work those senses in this body, but your spirit is not bound by thinking that only is true what I can touch, taste, see, smell, sense. Spirit has a deeper knowing, and that's when all things are collapsed in the wave function of love, and love meets itself as that root founding principle that is here at the 0 point before the generation of any grids, before the generation of any simulation or matrix. And as we learn to collapse the wave function, and first as this body with these issues, with all this stuff that I got to heal, but as we learn to collapse the wave function in the way of love by choosing thoughts of love, speaking in tongues of love, or just if I can't even say anything nice, that old saying, don't say it at all. Being neutral, just practicing neutrality until you can say something nice, something kind about yourself or others. And we create the musculature, we create the synaptic structure in our being, in our mind, in our heart, in our biochemistry that helps to generate and feed forward that into the matrix, and so bring it back as our personal matrix experience here. And so, yes, there's work to do here in this body, in this third dimension. That's mastery. That's self-mastery, being a master of your time and space. Time being the words you speak, space being the thoughts you think about the words you speak. And when those sync up with heart, with spirit, with love, you're out of time. You are in the now, where the miracles, the happenstance, the divine is allowed to happen because you're not trying to make it happen. You're not controlling things. You're not stuck on how things need to show up in order for you to feel safe, happy. You let go and you let God, you let love, you let source, you let the mystical realm that is within you and all around you. You give that the right of way. And that's when life really starts to happen. That's what I'll offer to you. You know, in my book, I don't know how much time we have left, maybe not much, 2 minutes. In my book, I was going to read a whole thing to you, but my teacher used me just the way I was talking earlier about the news and how all of these structures and how we use each other even in this way, where she would put ideas into my head before I had the strength, the musculature, mentally and psychically to know and create healthy boundaries. She would put ideas and information into my head and use me as a broadcasting station, an antenna, where I would regurgitate those things, those thoughts, unconsciously, consciously. And it was only when I got to a certain level of my awakening that I realized what was happening. And then further still, realizing that this is the matrix. This is how it works. All the information coming in from outside. The degree that we repeat, what we repeat, again, is serving the cosmic kitchen with how it will regenerate us, regenerate our experience and serve us back through the simulation in this matrix. Now, things are going to wrap up here on Instagram. So again, I'm taking a hiatus. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. Go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com, sign up for my monthly love letter. I will be back this fall. I have the Spiritual Apprentice Book Club, so many things to do. So please stay in community if you appreciate what I share, and I'm grateful for you on all of these different platforms. So let's drop into the heart and just place love. I place love here. I place love here. Thank you. Thank you. I place love here. I place love here. And so it is. And so it is. Tony, Molly, oh, sister, I was thinking about you just this morning. We will have to connect. I love you. I love you, Molly. All right, blessings, everyone. Thank you for being here. And again, I'm taking a little hiatus from these lives. I'll be back in the fall. And I really appreciate your support with this competition I'm in right now and all of your voting. So be well, and we'll be in touch. So much love. Blessings, YouTube family. I'm so grateful for you. You've been with me from the very, very beginning. Just yay! Namaste with love.
Blessings, everyone.